Hey, Jason here with Shredmentor Rock Guitar Academy. And in this short video, I want to clear up something that I see all the time on guitar forums and on YouTube comments and everywhere anybody's really looking for ways to improve their soloing. And a lot of the time, one of the things that people are looking for are how to learn to play faster, less choppy, less sloppy. You want to be able to play nice and cleanly and evenly and faster. Here's the thing, almost without fail, every time I see this question come up, somebody says, play slowly. Now that's good advice, but without any context. So without knowing the context, that doesn't really get you anywhere. You know what happens when you play slowly? You're playing slowly. You'll never get fast if you just only play slowly. And you're never going to feel comfortable speeding up if you think you have to play slowly all the time. I found myself in this same trap about 11 years ago. The thing is, the reason people tell you to play slowly, though, alright, I'm not saying that that's bad advice, it's just one nugget of wisdom without any context. When you slow down, think of the reason why you're slowing down. You're trying to play faster than you can currently think. You need to slow down so that you can think faster than you're playing. Okay, so what you're really doing when you train for speed is you're training your brain to process a certain amount of information in less and less time. You are ultimately becoming a faster thinker. You actually can concentrate and process information faster. But when it comes to playing tightly within the rhythm, okay, I want to put that playing slower in context. You should speed up and slow down. Really, if you want to speed up, you're going to have to start speeding up. You're going to have to let yourself make the mistakes and really be super analytical about what you're doing, how you could be doing it better, and specifically what you're not quite doing as well as you could be. So you're pinpointing it, you're not self-punishing, you're just looking for the source of the problem and solving it. So here's the thing, I have been dealing with this, like I said, for over 11 years, and I actually factored a lot of the things that I found to be the most crucial elements of improving your playing and your speed especially into shredmentor.com's practice tools. And the first one that I created was the double bass tool, because double bass is a great way, especially if you're a metal player, you can really relate to the aesthetic that comes with it, but you also have an event happening on every sub beat. Before you can start trying to play something really fast, you need to actually be able to pick that fast at all. So I would recommend starting with a double bass beat and playing as exactly as you can to the beat. I'll just grab a note, it doesn't matter what it is, but start to accent according to whatever the sub beat is. So I'm going to play along to the 4/4 16th note double bass at I'm going to go really high at first. I'm going to go to 190. All right. It's going to take a minute to kind of get in sync with it. It's also going to require you to be honest with yourself. If you can't keep up, you need to start slower. I know there's the drive to want to already be there, but if you're not, be honest with yourself and don't waste your time, because you need to start slower than that. Okay, so it took me a moment there, but I was able to tighten up, and then as I was thinking about what to say into the camera, then I got off again with, I know that I can keep up at 190. Now, whether I can actually rip through a scale at that speed, probably not right now. Honestly, I'm a little rusty this week, but I have topped off beyond that before, but right now, if I want to get back up there, this is kind of like, for guitar players, this is very similar to like what weightlifters do. Professional bodybuilders in off season, they have to build back up to that level, and that's something that happens if you don't keep pushing your speed on a regular basis. You start to lose what you've done, and that goes for all guitar practice, really. But I'm going to jump down significantly, but not ridiculously slow, but 150. That was 190 before. Let's see what 150 sounds like. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E. Okay. I recommend sticking with just one note. I grabbed a power chord by habit, but the more stuff your pick has to hit on every sub beat, the harder a time you're going to have staying in time. So keep it tight by going with one note. Okay? The next thing you need to be able to do, though, is, from there, you're just verifying that you can even pick that fast. The next thing you need to be able to do is find an actual phrase that will fit into 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and you actually need a phrase that's that long. Because if you just start playing whole scales, all right, well, 3 notes per string times 6 is 18, not a multiple of 4. You're going to have a really difficult time making that fit, because the pattern that you play, even if you stay very strict with your accenting, the accent is going to be moving all over the place, so you're biting off more than you can chew at first. So it's better to take a small sequence and just loop it in such a way that you can actually make it fit into the rhythm. So practice stuff that's compatible with the rhythm that you're trying to play along to. Speed is just a quality of rhythm. So don't forget that you're playing within a rhythm, and your accenting is part of it too. Rhythm isn't just playing steadily, but it's accenting in groupings. Something that I like to do as far as playing groupings of 4. There's a lot of ways you can approach this, but I'm just going to grab like a piece of a minor scale, okay? Now what you could do, you could use just 4 notes on one string. It's a good way to get all 4 fingers in there. I'm going to use the B minor scale, and I'll use the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of the scale. That's B at 12, C sharp at 14, D at 15, and E at 17. Before I start playing along to the beat, I just want to kind of get a feel for what I'm going to do, because you want to get your fingers ready, okay? And I'm not going to start at 150. I'm going to start, because it's significantly lower than that. I'm going to go down to like 80, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Go the other way. Every 4. And at that point, you kind of have to decide, is this challenging enough? Okay, if you feel you did that pretty well, then move on. And that's why I actually have a whole bunch of different speeds for each of these beats. So you can jump up 10 beats per minute and try it at 90 and see what that's like. 3, 4. Your first 4 are probably going to be a little bit off. But throughout the exercise, you just start getting tighter and tighter with it. I'm going to jump ahead a couple of them, but you just kind of gradually build up. And you just keep listening for things. If you miss something and it was just a one-off thing, be honest with yourself if you think you can really keep doing it at that speed and sustain it for a while. But that's the idea. Anybody could play really fast for just a moment. The whole thing you're really trying to do here is sustain the speed. You want to keep it going and have, increase your endurance here. So I'm going to jump up to significantly faster. So this thing is, I slowed down so that I could think clearly about what I was doing, but I'm not going to get any faster if I just keep playing slow. So I'm going to move up now to 150. And I like to use tremolo picking just to set the pace for my picking, because that's really where the pace is coming from. Okay, and this is just one exercise, so this is how I would approach this particular thing. We're going to get into some more complicated sequences after this, but let's just keep pushing it and see where the ceiling is. So as you go through, you notice I was starting to double pick and even quadruple pick some of those notes, because I'm trying to stay within the rhythm first and foremost. That's the top priority, is that I stay tight with it. So right now I'm topping off at about 180 right now in this particular skill. So that's where I would mark the ceiling, and I'd start moving down a little bit to where I can do it well. You want to get back into the area where you can concentrate quickly enough to perform it perfectly. Okay, but not so slow that it's effortless or too easy. You're still trying to challenge yourself. So make sure that when you slow things down, you don't just stay there. You just slow it down enough where you can think. So experience it at all different speeds, all the way from pretty easy to falling apart, because you need to know where your own limits are. Knowing yourself is part of improving. Okay, so that was one really basic little 4-beat thing. I'm going to show you some slightly more interesting things that you can do, and a lot of the things I really find just the same way as I just covered it, in ascending order and descending order. One thing that can kind of include ascending and descending patterns all in the same little exercise is just a loop. So if we want 4 notes each way, we can just take 5 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, since I don't have 5 fretting fingers because I'm not a mutant, I'm going to take 3 notes on the lower string and 2 notes on the higher one. This can also be done, and should also be done, with 2 notes on the lower string and then 3 notes on the higher string. Because depending on what scale position you're in, you might need either one of them in order to play the melody that way. Okay, so let's try that again a little slower, because we just want to know what we're doing here. 100 beats per minute. 1 E and a 2 E and a. You should also go out of your way to find other ways to play the same phrase. So I could also start this here. 3 notes in the middle, 1 note on the 3rd string, 1 note on the 1st string. So let's see what that's like. That's a little bit of a different challenge. And you just keep doing that the same way, just move up. I'm going to jump a few speeds here. And you'll find that each shape actually provides a different level of challenge as well. So whatever one is the hardest, spend more time on it. Okay, repeat it more times and just put more focus on that, because whatever you're doing well without a whole lot of trouble, you don't need to work on it that much more. You're already good at it. So get out of that comfort zone. You're just expanding your comfort zone, but you don't want to stay in it when you're practicing. All right, so that's basically what I would refer to as a 5-note loop. If you want 4 notes each way, you take 1 extra note. That way you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, so that's how you make 4 notes each way. Let's say we double it. We want 8 notes each way. We do the same thing, 9 notes. All right, so I'm going to start a little. I'm going to start down here on the 3rd string, same note. I'm just going to keep using the B minor scale. I'm going to use harmonic minor because it sounds really cool, but you should use whatever scales sound cool to you, because really that's going to define your playing. Don't practice scales just randomly, in an attempt to be complete about your learning. Pick the scales that sound good to you. There are just too many scales. You can always get to them later, but get good at your favorite scales first. So I'm going to just use the B harmonic minor scale. So from the 3rd string, that's 16, 18, 19. Same fingering, but 1 fret higher. 17, 19, 20. 1 fret higher. That's 18, 19, 21. Okay, that's my 9-note loop. Again, I'm going to start at 100. Stay in that same speed for as long as you feel like you need to. Sometimes, on some days you might just be at 1 speed because you really need to just iron that out, and you don't really want to go any slower, but it just might not feel like it's there yet. And so feel free to spend some more time on that. You don't have to be in such a rush to jump forward. Of course you want to get faster, but you can move more gradually up. This is 110. As you feel the challenge start to lift, go the same way with the tempo. Now, I'm missing some notes in here because I'm a little rusty, so be listening for that. Alright, and listen listen for any accidental string hitting like I'm doing there too. These are the things you want to be focusing on as you go back down to a slower speed. So this is 130. I'm going back to 100 again because I need to focus on what I'm doing. Alright, so I'm not having that problem with that speed. It might start to introduce itself a little faster. And it might just go away too as you speed back up gradually over the speeds too. And so in a way it's almost like you're ironing. You're ironing out the wrinkles in it and until you can do it perfectly. And that range of speed that you're occupying when you're practicing just keeps getting higher and higher. Okay, so that's one more. I'm going to show you another one that I really like. This one only takes 2 strings. You can do it with 6 notes, but in all, it actually leads to 16 beats long. All right, I'm going to start from the 12th fret again of the 2nd string. So I'm going back to my B minor scale, but incomplete, just the hexachord. Basically, you start it from the first note of the scale, and this works with any 6 notes, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then descend 5, 4, 3, 2, and then from 1 you reascend 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In all, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So count out your phrases because, once again, you're playing within a rhythm. If you want to pick up your speed, it has to actually fit in the rhythm. You don't want to be just flailing, which is just aimless, playing faster than you can think. You want to actually have a phrase that as your basis for your practice that's going to actually fit in it. Otherwise, you're not really practicing anything you can use. All right, so that way it's 16 notes. It's very easy. Once you get to the top note the second time, you immediately go to the bottom. So you immediately go back to that bottom note. All right, so again, you can start however slow you need to. Alright, then descend it as well. Okay, then you can start speeding it up if you feel comfortable with it. So I'm going to jump to 120. A little bit of tremolo picking as you get faster. And at any time, if you start to feel that you're getting out of time, just go back to the, just accented tremolo picking. That's really the answer every time. It just goes along with whatever, the pattern is. So there's 3 different sequences that you can use with 16th notes. I really encourage you to kind of make up your own just based on the scales. Just get out of the habit, if you're already doing it, of going up and down the whole scale. Work up to that later. Don't do that now. Focus on a piece of the scale, make it actually fit into 16 notes or 8 notes, and play that. Then work up to something like 12 or something, and then think of what that's going to be a multiple of and play it accordingly. So one that I like to do with 12, that way it gets me into playing like triplet accenting and not just groups of 4 all the time, is something I refer to as the middle string zigzag. And a zigzag to me is just basically the melody is kind of going up and down and up. So I'm reusing some of the notes on the string. So this is a good way to kind of get some different length phrases when you play. Basically, I'm going to do that same thing I did before when I did my 9-note loop. Except out of the 3 strings when I play it, when I get to the middle string, I'm going to go up, back down, then back up, and then proceed. And then bounce off the top. Then when I get back to that middle string again, I'm going to go down, back up, and back down, and then proceed to the bottom. And in all, it's 24 notes. All right, so you can count through it if you like. I'm not going to bother, but I know it's 24 notes, so just trust me on this. Here's 100 beats per minute. Just establishing what the triplets feel like. just have an idea of what it's going to feel like starting from the bottom to the top and back, or from the top down and back up. Start from even notes in the middle, and start as if you were like one beat in when you started. So start on, like, instead of starting from the B, you can even start from one of the notes in the middle. Just stick to the same scale shape with the same fingers, but just start on a different note as if you had already played all the notes before that. So I'm going to start one note in. Start on the second note. So and each one packs its own challenges, so you should practice these things that way too. Get used to them in their sort of default form first, and then start doing this. This is what I call offsetting, because you're basically just taking the whole phrase from where it would have repeated itself. You're just one beat or any number of beats moved over. So whatever would have been at the beginning is tacked onto the end, or stuff from the end is added onto the beginning. Just depends on the perspective you prefer. Now, here's the thing. When you start working on speed, it does occupy a lot of your time and your focus and your energy, and you really start to get really driven that you want to move forward, but all you end up doing after a while is alternate picking scale patterns. And what usually is the first thing that drops off the map is your phrasing. So I'm going to show you how you can use this with phrasing as well. And it's really simple. You do the same exact things we were just doing here, but then you add a bend and or some vibrato at the end, and you basically separate the repetitions by about a measure each time. All right, so like what I just did there, in that last example, I just kind of stopped on the note and I played vibrato. I'm going to bend into that note and play vibrato now. You might even have to start even slower so that you have time to execute bends and stuff like that, but you want to make this stuff emotional too, not just reciting notes fast. Okay, so let's start from the top. Notice that I'm also letting the note be established for about one beat in, at least, before I start to apply the vibrato. You don't want to rush into adding the polish to the note. Let the pitch itself be established in the listener's ear before you start to embellish it with vibrato. Okay? If you're really just trying to focus on the bend part, you can just add it to the end of what you're already going to do, so that you don't have to pick which one of the two things you're going to work on. Just work on everything, because that's ultimately what you're trying to be able to do, is everything. You want to be able to do everything well and do it together. So that's what you should practice, and that's how you should practice. Don't just do one thing by itself only. Sometimes you do need to do that. Sometimes you need to get rid of everything except the one little thing you're working on. Sometimes you need to take your fretting hand completely out of it and just look at your picking hand while it's doing it. Sometimes you need to forget about picking and just fret the whole thing, and don't worry about the sound it's making so much, and just make sure you're paying attention to which fingers are playing, where to pull off harder to get the accent right, stuff like that. But eventually you need to get back to the point where you're trying to do multiple things together, because that's what playing is. You're playing with multiple techniques and skills and patterns all the time. So make your exercises do that too. Okay, so that's basically how you do it, and I strongly recommend that you use double bass beats, especially if you're into metal. Otherwise, program some beats that have some kind of event happening on every sub beat, so that you don't have to guess where it is. You might have a vague idea of what that subdivision should sound like, but you don't want to leave it up to your ear. You want to leave it up to a computer that is absolutely perfect, because you're trying to tighten it. And you won't become some kind of emotionless robot either, because you're a human. It takes work to make a robot or a computer sound humanized. And there's a lot of software, algorithms and stuff built into drum programs to sort of try to do that. But you want the exactness in timing that a computer offers, so that you can practice along to it. Don't worry, you're never going to achieve absolute perfection, but you'll get really damn close, and that's what we want to do here. So use the double bass tool. It is free on shredmentor.com, and you just go up to the menu and click on free guitar practice tools, and immediately you'll have something to make your guitar playing get better a lot faster, and your soloing will start to speed up in a clean way, the way you want it to. That's it for this time. I'm Jason with Shred Mentor Rock Guitar Academy. Until next time, rock on.